Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at one of the most exciting new fixes for CrossOver, which allows a whole bunch of highly requested games to work on Apple Silicon Macs. So if you didn't already know, CrossOver is a compatibility layer which allows Windows games and applications to run on Apple Silicon hardware. And this method works great for many different games. However, one issue is that many Unreal Engine 4 games do not work. For example, if we load up a title like Octopath Traveler, what we're going to find is that all of the interface elements are working and you can hear the voices in the background, however the entire screen is rendered black. However, if we apply this simple Unreal Engine 4 Molten VK fix, then all the 3D elements are now rendered, albeit not perfectly, however it is now completely playable. And this workaround was discovered by the developer NAS, who, if you remember, also helped to port RPCS3 to macOS and was also instrumental in getting God of War working on Apple Silicon Macs. And this workaround comes as a pretty big surprise because for the longest time we've been told that Unreal Engine 4 games can't work on CrossOver due to the fact that Metal does not support geometry shaders, and many of us thought that we'd need to wait until Metal 3 was released and for Molten VK and CrossOver to catch up so that we could get these games working on Apple Silicon hardware. However, the fix that NAS has discovered shows that geometry shaders aren't the full cause of the black screen. It's actually the result of a post-processing effect, which this fix works around. And just be aware that this is more of a hack than a fix. Because we're skipping a post-processing step, then a lot of the games are going to look slightly off. But the way that I see it is that it makes a whole bunch of games now playable, and then it's a sacrifice worth making. So today I'm going to show you how to apply this fix. So I'm going to be assuming that you've already got CrossOver 22. If you haven't yet, then you should follow my full video tutorial. If you do decide to buy CrossOver, then please make sure to click the link at the top of the description. Every time you make a purchase, I get a small commission and it helps to support the channel and the content that I create. So if you haven't subscribed already, then please consider subscribing and you'll be able to keep up to date with the latest Mac gaming news. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for NASA's GitHub page, and this contains a Molten VK release. This blurb details exactly what is happening with this workaround, and you can also take a look at this source code as well. Very importantly, if you use this patched version of Molten VK, do not ask codeweavers for support. This is because this is modifying the application and it will have unexpected results. So the asset that we want is this one here called libmoltenvk.dylib. I'm going to click on here and then download this file. So once that's downloaded, we're going to go to Finder, then we're going to go to Downloads, and then I'm going to control click on moltenvk.dylib and then press copy. And then what we're going to do is go to Applications and then find our CrossOver application. We're going to hold down Control and click on this and then click Show Package Contents. And then we're going to go through the folder structure, go to Contents, and then we're going to double click on Shared Support. Then we'll find CrossOver. And then the folder that we want is this one called lib64, which is library 64. And the file that we're going to replace is this one, libmoltenvk.dylib. So what I recommend doing is clicking on here. I'm going to rename this one libmoltenvk original. And then what we're going to do is hold down Control and click on the blank space and then press paste. And then paste in the modified Molten VK that we just downloaded. So now I'm going to go back to Applications and open up CrossOver as you normally do. And then we're going to open up Steam and then try to run some games. So the first game we're going to look at is Stray, and I'm just going to show you what the original looked like without the fix. It's just a full black screen and you can see some of the interface elements. You can hear everything in the background, but obviously it's not very playable. So now with the fix applied, it's actually looking pretty good. There are some stutters, but we're getting around 40 to 60 frames per second. This is on my MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip with 32 gigabytes of RAM and 32 GPU cores, and we're running at a resolution of 1080p. In the more open areas of the game, the frame rate hovers around 28, 29 FPS, but I would say that this is playable. If you wanted to, you could just turn down the resolution for a better frame rate. So the next game is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So this used to launch fine through CrossOver, however the flickering black textures are pretty annoying and make the game pretty much unplayable. Now with the fix applied, the game pretty much works perfectly. I can't really see any graphical issues and the colors don't look that different from what I played on my PC. This has definitely been one of the most requested games to get working on Apple Silicon Macs, and I'm glad that it's finally working in this form. If you did run this game, what you might find is that stuttering will be an issue. So I'm going to show you a fix which is going to help to reduce stuttering during the game. So I'm going to show you what to do now is to add this set of lines into the game user settings.ini so that all of the shaders generate on load rather than in the game, and this should help reduce stuttering. So firstly, I'm going to open up Finder and then I'm going to press the Go button and then hold down the Option key and then click on the library button that appears here. Then we're going to go to Application Support and then I'm going to scroll down and find CrossOver within Application Support, and then we'll open up the bottle section here and then we're going to find our Steam bottle go to the C drive, go to users, go to crossover, go to app data, go to local, SW game, Star Wars game, saved, config, Windows no editor, and then we're going to edit this file called the game user settings.ini. Hold down Control and then click on this, go to open with and open with text edit. So at the bottom of this, what we want to do is to add a new line. I want to copy and paste this, which I'll leave in the description. Just copy this and then place it within game settings ini and press paste. Then we're going to press file and then save. And once this is done, this means that when we run the game, it's going to create all the shaders on load, and so this will help reduce stuttering in the game. And then after we do that, we go ahead and launch the game. So what I found is that doing this fix is going to help with shader compilation. It's going to be front loaded rather than being done right in the middle of a game and slowing down your gameplay. In theory, this fix could be applied to any Unreal Engine 4 game as long as you edit the correct ini file. You should be able to locate it in your bottle, and the file paths are always available on PC Gaming Wiki. So next up, we're looking at Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. This was recently upgraded to DirectX 12, so in order to run this, we need to use the -dx11 target command. As I mentioned before, the colors look a little bit muted, however, it does run through CrossOver 22, and it seems to work at a decent frame rate. So the frame rate seems to stick around 35 FPS, running at 1080p. Frame times are fine when there isn't much action on the screen. When we get into a more open, more detailed area, then the frame rate drops a little bit and the frame time's a little bit worse. I haven't tested much beyond this intro sequence, so if you find this game works better or worse further in the game that you get with combat, then please let me know in the comments. So next up is the JRPG Octopath Traveler. This seems to work fine at 1080p on my M1 Max chip. I've tested walking around the towns, and I've also tested combat as well. This shouldn't be that demanding a game, and I haven't noticed any issues even with any of the spell effects that come up on screen. So next up is Everspace 2, so this technically should be getting a Mac port in the very near future. However, you can play the Windows Early Access version now through CrossOver 22, and it's all working without any of the black glitches that we had before. We also have a couple of boomer shooters too. For example, Medieval is now working with a slightly muted color palette, but it runs way faster than it does on Parallels. We also have the game BPM, bullets per minute, and this is relatively playable even on the base M1 chip. So what about other Unreal Engine 4 games which have black textures? So I've tested other games and unfortunately this fix doesn't quite work for them. For example, Tekken 7 is still black screen. The game control still won't render any of its 3D elements under DXVK, although this is playable on CrossOver 22 if you enable WinD3D. I also tested out the game Prey, which seems to render its lightbox fine, but all of the rest of the level is still black. So unfortunately the fix doesn't work in this situation. So I've done quite a lot of game testing so far, but it'd be really interesting to see what games now work with this new fix. If you do discover something new, then please make sure to leave a comment in the description. Thank you to Nast for discovering this fix and distributing it to everyone. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.